Are you getting tired of spending hours and hours on a single edit, and are you still dragging and dropping cross dissolve onto all of your clips? Then you really need to know these 5 essential top tips and tricks of Premiere Pro to actually really speed up your editing workflow. Let's not wait around any longer and jump into the first tip, which is actually doing your selects on a separate timeline. So as you can see, the example I'm going to be using here is one of my old videos when I talk about the Canon RF 50mm. So what I've done here, as you can see in the project timeline, I have it's a little bit messy at the minute as you can see, but I have some photos because of obviously the photos that I took as a bin, and I've got my B-roll as a bin, and I've just left my A-roll at the top. So this is what I used to do. Here's my actual B-roll for it now, and what I used to do is click onto it and then scroll through and then find something that I want, and then in and out it like this, press in and then out, and then just drag it onto the timeline. That has completely slowed me down, and that's one of the slowest ways you can actually do it. So I'm actually going to be telling you an easier and much more efficient way of actually going through your B-roll selects. So what we're going to actually do right now is we're going to go up here and we're going to click on new item, and we're going to go on new sequence. We're going to just basically, I'm just going to go on yes, okay, I'm just going to call it selects. Press okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go up to my bin, which is the B-roll here, and we're going to go and click all 3 of them, and then we're going to drag them into the timeline and keep existing settings, it doesn't matter. So right now we've got our own timeline of the selects. So this is all my B-roll that I took. As you can see, I'm just going through, looking at the different lenses, and basically, yeah, this is my B-roll. So instead of going into every individual clip, before I do anything, before I start any B-roll, what I do, I go through the clip, and let's say if I find a clip that I like, for example, like just say if I like this shot, what I do, I scroll in, and then what I do, I just cut that little section out to there, let's say. And then what I do, I drag it up onto the V2 section of the timeline. For example, again, if I like this clip and I do it like that, I don't know what this is just examples. So then once I've actually found all my clips, so for example, I've got 3 clips here, what I do, I select them all, and I take the audio as well, just in case I need it. Obviously, I'm not going to need it for this situation, but I always do. And I click Command C, and then I scroll out, and then this is what I do. This is up to you, this is how you do it, but I do it. And then I drag this way, and then I paste it there, and then close them together. So when I'm actually going into here and I've edited all the A-roll together and I want to get my actual first B-roll section, what I do, I just go over to selects, and here is all the selects that I've selected. So all I have to do is go through these for every clip, instead of going through every single clip here, finding it here, finding in and out, and then putting it in. It's already done for me, and it's so much quicker, and all I have to do is keep going over to the select timeline and actually copy and pasting it over to my main sequence. So the second tip we're going to be talking about to speed up your editing workflow is actually a keyboard shortcut, and that is Shift Control or Command E. And basically what that does, that disables and enables clips. So as you can see, for example, I don't actually have a 2-camera interview, for example. So what I've done, I've just zoomed in on my face and pretended this is an actual second clip. If I actually zoom it out, for example, so I've got the close-up top one over the wide angle. So if I want to do this and I want to say get halfway through the clip, and then I cut, and then normally what I'll do is I'll cut and then delete it. So that clip's gone now. And then later, if I actually come back and I'll decide, oh, I actually want that wide angle shot back, obviously you can do a load of like Command Z's to actually undo it all and everything, or you can just go into your project and actually find the clip that you're actually looking for, and then you can go from there. But that just takes up so much time doing all that. You can also drag it all out and find what you want, but that just takes up so much time. So basically, instead of cutting it and then deleting it completely, just say what you do, you cut, and then you click on the actual clip that you want, and then you click Shift, Command or Control if you're on Windows, and E, and that disables the whole clip. And obviously if you've got audio attached with it, it's going to disable the audio as well. So what I like to do is I completely unlink it from the audio, and then I can just disable the actual A-roll shot itself and not the audio, because you need the audio. So Shift, Command or Control E, and that disables it. So you've got that, and it just comes over and then it goes to the wide angle. And then later on, again, if you actually want that wide angle shot back, instead of going through all your projects and anything like that, literally all you got to do, you've got to click on that clip, and then you go Shift, Control E, and the clip's back just like that. One keyboard shortcut, and that clip is still there in your timeline. You just can't see it. It's as simple as that. The third way you can actually increase the speed of your editing workflow is actually with another keyboard shortcut, but it's not just for a keyboard shortcut as well, it's also to fine tune it as well, which we'll get into in a minute. And that keyboard shortcut is for cross dissolve. So like I said in the intro, instead of going up all the way to effects and then you go down to video transitions to dissolve, and there's cross dissolve, and then you drag it onto your clip like that. Or you just type in up here cross dissolve, and then you find it again and you drag it onto your clip there. Instead of doing that, because that takes up way too much time that you actually don't need to be wasting, literally all you do, you click on the two clips and click Shift D. There you go, cross dissolve is on there. Same for the audio, you click on the audio clip, Shift D, there is the cross dissolve. You don't have to be typing in anything on the actual thing to get the cross dissolve, you just bang straight onto the actual thing, Shift D, and it's there. And what I was talking about as well, for example, if you've got like a really harsh cut in your editing, so for example, if I actually undo this, and if you actually hear this cut now,
1.8. I'll be given.
It's quite harsh. Like
at 1.8. I'll be given.
It's a quick bang. So if you only forget anything like that while editing an interview, for example, basically what you do, you can open this up, and what I like to do, you click on it, Shift D, like I said. Now, this is where you get into the intricate bit as well. So once it's there, you can obviously shorten it like that. How you want it, like that. But sometimes you might not want this area to be faded, you just want it to be this area because this is where the harsh cut is, or vice versa. So what you do, you hold Shift again, and then you drag the actual clip, and as you can see, it's only affecting the left side, and you can completely disable the left side, so that haven't got a fade at all. And then you can do the same with this side and only do the start because that's where the harsh cut is. So if you actually listen to it again,
f1.8. I'll be given some first.
It's still not amazing, but if we actually shift it again and push it out a little bit more, for example, like that.
f1.8. I'll be given some.
And then let's hear a before and after, just for a quick one there.
f1.8. I'll be given some.
As you can see, it's still there, but it's nowhere near as harsh, and that was obviously not the perfect example, but you can see where I'm coming from. You can just fade in the start of the clip where the actual harsh cut is. For example, if you go like and I'm, and you want to get rid of the and you only want to hear the I'm, you might hear the actual end of the and in the actual clip. So that is where you're going to actually be using the cross dissolve like that to actually fade out the last word you said, but you still hear the I'm, if that makes sense. And another little bonus tip for this dissolve shortcut as well is actually you can actually fade out a little bit better. So if you're not happy with this fade, what you can do, you can press Command and then tap on this white line here to get this little dot, and you can do the same and get another little dot here, for example. And now what you can do, you can just lower this down to the volume so you don't hear the start. So if I just put it for about -20, for example, and move this across, again, if you hold Shift, this line will not move. As you can see, it's on that same 0 all the time. If I let go, you can move it wherever you want. So make sure you obviously as well hold Shift and you can move this across. And if I put it there, you hear it again.
I'll be given.
And then also what you can do, the left to the in. So whenever the first point is, you right click this and you click ease out. And then on this one, you right click and you click ease in. And what it does, it just gives a little bit of a curve, so it's not completely harsh. It eases in and eases out into the actual fade. So what you do, you play it again.
0.8. I'll be given.
It's still not completely amazing if you understand what I'm on about, but if you just play around with the cross dissolves, like I mentioned, and do it again.
0.8. I'll be given.
That just sounds better to me anyway. It's still not a perfect, but it's completely better than that harsh cut. It sounds a little bit more natural, but obviously because it's a YouTube video and I'm talking really fast, it's not going to sound amazing. But I'm on about as well, this is mainly for interviews. So if you're actually editing an interview, you want to make it sound as natural as possible. And the only really way to do that, obviously, if there's harsh cuts like that, is to fade out in and out like this, what I'm using here, and easing in and easing out. So that's the third way to actually speed up, but also improve on your editing for your audio as well with this actual tip. So the fourth tip to actually speed up your editing workflow is actually with this effects tab. So what you do, if you actually want to add, for example, a de-reverb onto your audio mix, so every single audio there, what you do, obviously you can either highlight them all like that, and then you go over to de-reverb, and then you drop it on. Simple as that. All of them have now de-reverb like that. If you bring in a second interviewee, for example, or a second person talking, and just say if I copy this, pretend this is a second person talking, and they still need de-reverb, well, I've got to go back up to the effects tab, I've got to highlight them, and I've got to paste the de-reverb onto them like that. Same again if I bring in a third person. So the easiest and quickest way to actually speed this up and that you know they need de-reverb is what you do, you open this audio track mixer here. You can basically set the volume of it as well. So instead of, like, again, this is not just for effects, this is for volume as well. So if you actually go into it, and this clip's a little bit loud, for example, you go down like that, you change the volume of it as well. But obviously, if you actually want to set a certain mix, you just click on this number here and go -20, for example, if it's music, and there you go. The track 1 now is -20 for every single clip, which is a really quick way, and you can just do it once, for example. But there's more to that, obviously, as well. You can actually, if you see this little tab here, this is for the effects panel. So this is all for track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, and a mix, basically. There's mix. And what you do, you right click that, for example, and you can, if you're talking about de-reverb, you click on reverb, and then, for example, you click on studio reverb. So every single one now on audio 2, which is where the actual audio is that I'm talking, has a studio reverb on it. So like I said, you can quickly copy and paste it all onto one, but if a second person comes in, you got to do it again. As soon as you bring that second person in that you know that needs de-reverb, it already has it on because it's on the actual track instead of each clip. So again, you're speeding up your editing workflow like that. But then you might say, hold on, what if this don't need de-reverb? Then you just drop it to audio 3, and then you can put your effects on that audio 3 tab as well. So it's just, instead of editing individual clips, you can just edit it a certain track. And then that will just constantly, once you get used to it and you know, okay, once you do that, bang. For example, if you actually want to set your audio levels on audio 2, so you click down here, you go on amplitude and compression, and you click on hard limiter. You click on the hard limiter, and for example, for the audio, you want it to peak at -3. So this will instantly now up
You can get yourself such an amazing lens, and they
ignore the studio reverb. Obviously, as you can see, it does sound very weird. It's not the same as the reverb, but I need to actually like make it so it doesn't clip too much and it doesn't sound bad. I'll go over to the mix tab here, and I'll actually click on hard limiter again. And then I make that -6 because you don't want it to pass -6. And then if we actually listen to it again, the audio,
photographer wants smaller,
it's hitting -6, so you've upped the volume of it so it's not passing volume 6 as well. But using this actual audio track mixer to add effects onto your actual tracks instead of each individual clip and then copying and pasting them over, will just completely speed up your editing workflow rather than just actually, like I said, copying and pasting every single effect on each individual clip. So the 5th and final tip on to actually speed up your editing workflow, but it's more of just a tip to get better and just more of a knowledge tip, this one. For example, this clip right here, if I want to speed duration it 50%, so I want to slow it down, and then what I do, I'll come up to my effects tab and type in warp stabilizer because it's a bit shaky. For example, I click on warp stabilizer. Oh no, warp stabilizer and speed can't be used on the same clip. So if you want to slow down a clip because obviously you wanted to shoot that in 50 or 100 frames per second, for example, and you actually want to slow it down, but it's still a bit shaky and you want to add warp stabilizer, well, you can't. But this is just a really simple and easy way to actually do that. So as you can see, it's in slow motion. But if I still want warp stabilizer on it, literally all I do, I'll right click the clip, I go down, I nest it. You can name it something, so for example, lens, because it's on a lens. So it comes up now, this is nested, so if I click on it, this is where I can change the actual length of it and everything. So you can still do that when you're actually in its own nest and sequence. And then literally you just put warp stabilizer onto the nest and it does it. So that's all you have to do. It does. I don't know why it doesn't tell you that, but you can put warp stabilizer and slow motion on a single clip. All you got to do is nest the clip. It's as simple as that. But anyway, that's the end of the video. There are your actual 5 tips to actually speed up your editing workflow and basically just get a better knowledge of the keyboard shortcuts and just overall editing techniques to actually get better at Premiere Pro. If you did enjoy, and if this video actually did help you out, why not hit that like button and subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. If you actually did enjoy this video and you'd like to see a part 2, make sure you leave a comment below. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I guess I'll see you guys on the next video. See you later.